You know how you hear about these declassified government secrets, and you just have to wonder, where's the line between some wild conspiracy theory and actual documented history? Well, today, we're diving headfirst into a story where that line gets really, really blurry. We're talking about some of the most chillingly creative tools ever made for a war fought in the shadows. Okay, I want you to just picture this. The year is 1970. The Cold War is simmering, but for most people, it's just another day. You're on a busy city street, surrounded by the sounds of traffic, people chatting, the normal hum of life. Everything feels completely ordinary.
But somewhere in this crowd, someone is watching you, and they're armed. So what are you looking for? A gun? A knife? Anything that screams danger? Probably not, because the most effective weapon is always the one you never, ever see coming.
And then you feel it, a tiny little prick on your skin. It's so faint, you might just brush it away. You figure, it's a mosquito or something. You just carry on with your day, completely unaware that that tiny, insignificant moment, that was the attack.
What you just experienced was an attack from one of the CIA's most infamous declassified gadgets. It was a silent, untraceable assassination tool, and they called it the heart attack gun. Its whole purpose was to take out a target without leaving a single trace.
The concept behind this thing is just clinically terrifying. This was not a normal gun. It fired a tiny projectile laced with a poison specifically designed to cause a massive heart attack. But here's the real genius of it, and, the most sinister part. The projectile itself would completely dissolve inside the body. It would just vanish, making the death look 100% natural.
And the process was horrifyingly efficient. Let's break it down. First, a tiny frozen dart gets fired. It's just sharp enough to get through your clothes and skin to deliver its lethal payload. Then, once it's inside the warmth of the body, it just melts away. No entry wound, no bullet fragments, absolutely nothing for a coroner to find. The cause of death? It would just be ruled natural causes. Case closed. So what was this magic disappearing dart even made of? Well, the declassified documents revealed it was a powerful neurotoxin found in shellfish, frozen into what was basically a tiny icicle of death. By weaponizing a natural substance, the CIA created a tool that could perfectly mimic a natural event. It was the ultimate weapon for plausible deniability.
But okay, a silent weapon is only half the battle, right? I mean, how do you get close enough to someone on a busy street to even use it without anyone noticing? For that, the CIA turned to a very unlikely source, the world of stage magic.
This quote right here, it just perfectly captures their philosophy. The CIA realized that the skills a magician uses to fool an audience, controlling their attention, playing on their expectations, were the exact same skills an agent needed to operate in secret. The art of deception itself became a weapon. And get this, it wasn't just some abstract idea they had. They literally went out and hired a famous professional magician, a guy named John Mulholland, to write an entire top-secret manual on deception. It was basically a handbook for spies on how to use sleight of hand and misdirection for everything from passing secrets to hiding weapons.
And the parallels are just fascinating when you break them down. What a magician calls misdirection, an agent calls creating a diversion. Sleight of hand isn't about making a coin disappear. It's about concealing a microdot, or even that heart attack gun. And a grand stage illusion? Well, that's the same thought process you'd use to create a whole fake cover story. It's all about controlling what people see and, this is the important part, what they don't see.
So yeah, this magician's manual wasn't about pulling a rabbit out of a hat. It was a deep dive into the applied psychology of manipulation. It laid out these core principles for how to fool the human mind, and you can bet these were drilled into every covert agent.
These were pretty much the golden rules. First, control where your target is looking. Then, exploit what they expect to see. They see a man reaching into his jacket, they assume he's getting his wallet, not a weapon. You manipulate their perception of reality, maybe by creating a moment of confusion, because that confusion creates an opportunity. It's all about mastering that unseen action, the one thing that happens while everyone's attention is somewhere else. So you might be wondering, why are we talking about a 50-year-old gadget and a magician's handbook? Well, because understanding these declassified programs gives us a really critical look into the nature of intelligence and shadow warfare, not just during the Cold War, but even today.
See, the crucial point here is that the heart attack gun and the art of deception were designed for a very specific kind of fight. This wasn't a war fought with armies on some open field. It was fought with whispers, with secrets, where the main goal was for no one to even know a fight had taken place. The real battlefield was perception itself.
And it all really boils down to two core pillars. On one side, you've got the development of physically untraceable weapons. That's the hard science. And on the other, you have the mastery of psychological deception, the human science. You put those two together, and you have a powerful, almost completely invisible arsenal.
Now remember, all of this comes from material that has since been declassified, and that inevitably leads us to one final kind of lingering question. If these are the tools that we know about, the ones that have finally come to light decades later, how many more are still out there, completely unknown to us, just filed away in some silent arsenal? It's a chilling thought, right? In the world of espionage, what we know is so often just the very, very tip of the iceberg.